Membership package starting at only $7.95. You can list and sell up to 50 items. That would cost you nearly $100 with the other guys. Go right now to buysellmakeoffer.com and sign up today.
We found the problem with your car.
And
Turns out the carburetor differential modulator is out.
what?
And while we were digging around in there, this thing fell off.
Stop. There's no automotive repair nightmares at Diego Martinez's 5-Star Automotive in San Bernardino. 5-Star Automotive, where you'll get a great experience and home of the $15.99 oil change. That's right, just $15.99. They specialize in transmissions, brake repair, AC, and many other repairs, all with a lifetime warranty on parts and labor. Diego knows when your auto needs 5-star attention, it's never convenient. He offers a 12-month interest-free auto repair loan on major auto repairs with no money down. He'll even throw in free towing and a 10% discount for his neighbors in the 909 who work for the city and county of San Bernardino. Call 909-387-0770. That's 387-0770. Your neighbors at 909 West 2nd Street in San Bernardino.
Is your radio station dull and boring like most corporate-owned stations on the dial? Then it's time to tune to KCAA 1050 AM. It will blow your mind and maybe expand it too. KCAA is your independently owned go-to station in the Inland Empire. It's a veritable cornucopia of crazy, an assemblage of awesome and cool, and it's a little weird too. KCAA pumps out more local and national radio each week than most major networks while offering CNBC business news headlines during the week and NBC sports news on weekends. KCAA is unique, interesting, quirky, and sometimes outlandishly crazy, which adds up to a high volume of awesome. And for you audiophiles, KCAA delivers FM sound quality to our transmitter, which is why KCAA is the best-sounding AM station on the dial. So make your day with KCAA and find us online at kcaaradio.com. KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
As the owner of my business, I wear a lot of hats. I'm accounting, sales, and so much more. But I don't know marketing.
Let Dex Media be your marketing department. Our team can create a digital plan for you with everything from search to social. Contact Dex Media, that's DEX Media, to get found, get chosen, and get talked about.
Whoa, that's a job for cleanup, which would be me.
Call 844-230-3436 or visit dexmedia.com today.
Larry Burnett here, inviting you to join me for Open Season, Fridays at 6 p.m. right here on KCAA. It's three guys dropping gloves, tackling issues, and swinging for the fences. Great sports talk right here on KCAA AM 1050.
This is KCAA.
Ooh, baby. Hey, no stopping us now. This is The Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen on the case for truth and justice with the right information to help improve the situation. Hope things are going well for you. For everyone who was determined that the sport of boxing was probably going to die and go away with the last Kcaa fight with what's our guy's name? That's how fast I'm forgetting him, because I saw Mr. Wilder last night. This young man, Deontay Wilder, the 6'7", 245-pound heavyweight. Man, I saw one of the most exciting boxing matches of all time last night. That's not our subject for the day, but I just still kind of excited about seeing a good boxing match for a change. And I hope that that is an indication of the fact that when great things complete their greatness and go away, chances are there's something great going to come up and take their place. We've had some great problems that hopefully are going to demonstrate and create some great solutions. I believe I have our friend Mr. Leonard Evans on the phone. Let's bring him up if possible. Last week we had Minister Kareem Mohammed of the Inland Empire's Nation of Islam. I think the mosque is there in Rialto. Matter of fact, I know it is. I went by after the show last week and picked up a bean pie. I know many of you don't know what that is, and many of you do. And I'm glad to be able to have me one last week, and I understand I'll be able to go get a blueberry bean pie hopefully sometime this week. Now, those are mysterious things to some folk. That's how we increase our intellect and find out about stuff. But actually, we were talking last week with the minister about the 1995 Million Man March being 20 years ago, the anniversary, and there will be an additional follow-up march on the 10th of October, 10-10-15. In speaking of that march, we also spent quite a bit of time talking about the importance of money and people putting their money together and making things occur. And after the program, and well, not just after our program, many people, as we discussed the coming celebration of the 20-year anniversary, many people have not quite yet received the information to their satisfaction about the money collected at the Million Man March in 1995. Mr. Evans. I know Mr. Evans is possibly one of the people concerned about that.
Good morning.
We were all glad to... is that you,
Good
Leonard?
morning.
Is that you, Leonard?
I am here. Yes, I am.
Okay. Let me turn my ears down because I don't want you to slow down with your conversation there. But, Leonard, many people are concerned about what happened with the collection that took place at the 1995 Million Man March. I know as we reviewed last week's program, one of the most idealistic and romantic statements of the day was made by our friend Mr. Lilly, who may be on his way. But he was discussing how, trusting everyone was as the money was being collected in the boxes. People were the count when some people was 1 million folk, and so during this collection they naturally assumed that everybody's going to put in $3, $4, $5, and maybe a couple of $1 million would be collected. Well, as we look at the amount of money collected at the actual march, at the actual speech, there was approximately $245,000, which is quite a bit less than the idea of people putting $1 or $2 or $3 in. And, of course, everyone that we talk to who says they put money in the boxes always put in at least 5 or whatever in terms of their memory, which tends to, throw a little cloud on, well, how much money did they really collect? Well, one of the things that took place was that they only had 300 boxes to collect the money. And as Mr. Lilly indicated, it seemed like everybody was happy to put in money, and that it appeared, if we listened to that last week's statement, Mr. Lilly guaranteed that no one took out more than they put in.
Right.
And once again, that's his enthusiasm. And I've heard many people who were caught up in the wonderful feeling of the day who expressed the same thing. They just talked about an element of trust and love and things of that sort that we all like to feel good. Yeah, Leonard, we went to a couple of rock fests when we were younger, and it was probably similar feeling. Everybody getting along and being concerned about each other always, sets up a good attitude. But 300 boxes to be moved around and pushed around in the atmosphere of 1 million people is stated to be not quite enough boxes to actually get around to everyone. And as romantic and idealistic as it sounds that people only put money in, there's no way to prove that either. But according to the accounting company that did the audit, everything as far as they're concerned was in order. The only thing that they cannot attest to is how much money is collected, but the recording process of it and accounting processes, they say, are totally above board. There was over $1 million collected during the whole process, but not enough money. The Million Man March organization actually came out of that activity in 1995, $66,000 in the hole. But the other aspect of it is that the Million Man March was the first march to ever disclose their financial circumstance. So I don't know what that does for everyone. I know that in some conversation, people had indicated that they thought there never was an audit, that there never had been a disclosure of what occurred with the money. And I'm just happy to say that the audit is available online. The URL to get to it is not an easy thing to read, but
as promised, because that's the whole issue. At the March, it was promised there would be an accounting. There has been. It's done.
Yeah. So, as they look forward to 20 or 1010, that's exciting. I think that we moved on last week and talked about the importance of, what could we do as we gather people and gather money and try to create projects that are going to be economically bountiful for everyone. It's hard to imagine a group of people like the African Americans here in the United States doing anything that is going to impact the jobs and businesses within that group that wouldn't have a positive effect on the whole economy. We certainly feel the benefits of the Korean business community and the focus that they have, and the Hispanic business community and the focus that they have, and certainly to get the African American community more involved in internal business so that jobs can be created internally for African Americans, mainly because we're looking at the fact that African American men are the least served and the most unemployed in America. So something special needs to be done to create jobs for that group, and many of us think that that effort will probably do best if it comes from within the African American community, developing the businesses that many feel were sacrificed as a result of the civil rights movement. So that's what's going there, and anyone who would like to continue that conversation or speak more about the income potential or the impact of business, if black folk get a little bit more involved, hey, give us a call, 909. I'm sorry, that's...
Buy or start a business that makes things.
That's right, 888-909-1050. You can call in and we can talk about that without a problem. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Mr. Evans.
Yes, sir.
We discuss quite often, the activities of police and wondering how we can make them more efficient and at the same time less dangerous to the general public that they're serving. And one of the arenas that we should be very concerned about, there was an article just published in the papers. I'm going to pull that up here. But we're talking about almost a body a day in terms of police chases, in terms of police pursuing these crazy folks who decide to run away from the policemen. We probably could name the specific people and talk about specific police chases, but unfortunately they occur so often that I think we miss the point if we get caught up on a name, because there's going to be another name tomorrow and another name day after that. And so we need to look at the process, and that's what we're going to do after this short break. We're going to come back and talk about police pursuits. Is it a good idea? Why do they do it? Is it something that we can do to make that a safer endeavor? We're basically killing a person a day. 329 people a year average since 2007. To 2013. So we'll be right back, talk about that, and be careful out there on that freeway, folks. And some of these chases take place on our streets. We'll be right back.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
Kcaa.
Empire Talks back. I'm Wallace Allen, on the case for truth and justice with the right information to help improve the situation. More than 5,000 bystanders and passengers have been killed in police car chases since 1979, and tens of thousands more were injured as officers repeatedly pursued drivers at high speeds and in hazardous conditions, often for minor infractions. A USA Today analysis shows that the bystanders and the passengers in chased cars account for nearly half of all people killed in police pursuits from 1979 through 2013. USA Today found most bystanders were killed in their own cars by a fleeing driver. Mr. Evans, there's a couple of radio stations and TV stations that if there's a car pursuit, they're going to be
on it.
They're on it. And it's probably some of the most exciting reality TV that we get to see. I've not found it easy myself to switch the channel when I see those things going on. How about you?
Well, same here. I've watched them. They seem to end in one of two ways, as you've described. Where either they get the guy and nobody gets hurt, or there's a bad accident and they get killed.
Well, there's another element too, and that's the level of excitement, that I'm feeling as I'm watching. It seems to not quite match the level of excitement, however, that the police are demonstrating and experiencing. Because,
well documented.
Yes.
That's what they talk about.
And as we see these pursuits end, we see that, it appears to me that there seems to be some type of communication or arrangement between the news people who are following with the helicopters and the cameras and stuff.
Right.
Sometimes, at night they'll have that spotlight on, but it seems that when the police get to the catch-up time, that the news people kind of take the spotlight off and go in another direction. In those cases where they have been actually following and keeping the light on, one of those cases was here in the Inland Empire where a guy was running and he stole a horse, and they caught up with him with the horse, and everyone was in a position to see the little spanking or the $600,000 or $700,000 beating that the young man received. Those are some of the most exciting moments at the end of these chases, but we'll also see situations where the cars are in tremendous accidents and people are killed. The numbers on all of these car chases and the people that are negatively affected or killed, it's not fully reported, but it's something that when it does occur, the police know about it, general public tends to find out about it, insurance company gets involved. But what can we do to stop this? I mean, Josephine, my wife, and I were traveling, coming back from, I think, Atlanta. And we got in our car at the Los Angeles airport and, started coming home and listening to the news, which I'm known to do. We heard a pursuit on the radio.
Okay.
And as we were riding and listening to the pursuit, it occurred to us that, whoa, wait a minute, that helicopter above us is that's the pursuit. And we were stopped at a light, and all of a sudden the car shook. The man that was being pursued came by our car and nicked the car, I mean, so ever slightly. The car appeared, it felt like it kind of raised up, but when I look at the damage on the car, it was almost as though someone had artfully drawn some little lines across it. It was one of those moments where I said, wow, we must have had God in the car, because he didn't want to get hurt there. And so I was extremely happy and blessed about that. And but we were right in the middle of the chase. This guy could have been another inch closer to my car, and we possibly wouldn't be talking today. So I've felt it. I don't know about you. Mr. Lilly has just walked in. Jamal, have you experienced directly any auto chases, police chases? Have you been around them, close to them?
As a matter of fact, yes. When I was living in Oakland, Oakland police, they have a reputation, which we don't necessarily need to go all into. But I heard you say that these guys talk about these chases. Well, this particular one, it ended where I was.
Okay.
Came to a screeching halt right in front of a Quickway, which is a famous drive-in up there. And I'm sitting right there, eating my Quickway food and all this.
Okay.
And about 15 squad cars come zooming around the corner. I didn't see the guy they were pursuing because he wasn't in a car. He had already jumped out of his car and he was running.
Okay.
And they came up the other side of the street the wrong way against traffic.
Yes, the police. Excited.
Right. And of course, with traffic, there's cars caught in the middle, not knowing which way to go. People just abandoned their cars, stopped, ran out, didn't know what was going on. Some guys had their hands up like, I hope it's not me.
Right.
Man. And I'm looking at all this. I'm in my mid-20s, right? And I'm like, for a moment, I'm thinking, are they after me? I didn't do anything.
That doesn't matter.
But the idea, you get raised in this country to fear situations like that because, hey, you're a young black man and you don't know if there's a mistaken identity thing getting ready to happen or whatever. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. But then, of course, here comes the guy running. They drew down on him. He halted. And, the situation was in hand shortly thereafter. But, of course, I lingered to see what would happen in the situation. These cops are slapping high fives, talking about going out to drink and talk about it later.
A successful chase, that they have practice for.
It was like they were at a football game or something.
Sure.
Man. I mean,
if you spend a lot of time practicing for something, you have got to want to see how effective you are in a real life situation. We practice football because we want to play football.
Mm-hmm.
With the police, it's stated in this article, this USA Today article, that they train quite heavily for shooting.
Yes.
But less than 3%, that's an amazing figure, but less than 3% of police ever have to pull their gun.
Mm-hmm.
And the training for the automobile, way less. I think they said like 20%, 30% of the officers actually get trained, and the time that they put on training is about half the time that they put into firing their guns. And the possibility of them all driving cars is much higher than the idea that they're all going to use their guns. So that level of training needs to be...
It does, because I'm going to tell you, in that scene, I mean, people really were scurrying out of the way, could have been hit, could have been killed. I don't think anybody was harmed, but it was sort of reckless to me for them to come up the wrong way against traffic. It didn't seem necessary, but they chose to do it that way.
Well, we've got a win situation as far as the police concerned. They must win. They feel as though they have to win. We have filled our police with an attitude that says that they need to be, Superman. They need to be heroes.
Well, a lot of them get into the line of work with that in mind.
And I can understand because it appears to be that type of thing in many cases. I mean, the danger that they face, the unknown things that they face, does require a lot of nerve and a lot of training. But it doesn't really have a lot of room for the Hulk. You know, to just you do it because I told you to do
Superhero
it,
type
and
stuff.
because I have all of the power necessary to control you. And those.
When someone challenges you directly, that would be good to have.
Well, the idea, first of all, is if I'm a policeman, most of the time that I'm going to have to deal with anything is when people are not acting normally. You know, so the police are not called in to deal with situations that are
They're
normal.
called in to remind them that normal behavior.
Well, no,
I
don't think the police are called in to remind you anything. They're called in to deal with what they're going to consider a problem. Now, how they deal with it, Mr. Evans, is what I'm really looking at. It's like selling things. You're a salesman. You can either sell based on the fact that you can deliver the kind of information to convince the person to purchase, or you're just going to be dogmatic and make them buy something, and every time they turn around, you're there to make them buy something, and maybe they'll buy something to get rid of you, or maybe they'll just start avoiding you. But the police are not there to demonstrate how much in charge they are they? What do you think about that? I don't know.
I think that.
Well, when someone acts like they need to be reminded,
how do they do that? What is it?
Why are the police chasing them in the first place?
Well, now that's a good question. In these police chases, we find sometimes they've chased and caused, as they chase people for shoplifting, which is certainly against the law. And we don't know if a person was shoplifting to simply enrich themselves, or because they couldn't control themselves and they saw something that they wanted to take, or because they're trying to feed their family. But it is against the law to shoplift. But to get in the car and chase somebody 90 miles an hour simply because they're so scared or so crazy that they're trying to get away, you know, we can say they're trying to get away, or we can say, no, they're out here endangering the public, which probably both of those things is true. But how the policeman responds to that becomes where you and I should have some type of control or input into his policy. Should that policy be chase everybody that runs, or should we get them to look at the danger that takes place with the pursuit and maybe try to mitigate that danger with another policy? Well, let's take a short break, come back and talk a little bit about, do we really think it's necessary for some of these chases that we do? And we're going to chase and answer to try to keep up with the situation. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. I've got Mr. Jamal Lilly in the studio and Mr. Leonard Evans on the phones. You can join us by calling 888-909-1050. Have you ever been affected by a police chase? Do you think they're good ideas? How can we make the police and the public safer as the police do their work? We'll be right back.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
Lean on me. We are not strong, and I'll be your friend.
This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen, and there may be a car chase going on, and the results of that car chase could be very serious and not quite the result that we as the general public would like to have take place, and probably not what the police would ultimately like to have take place. We find that through a USA Today report that it's almost one person a day that is being put to sleep permanently as a result of a police chase. And there are things that the police are doing, high-tech things that are available that are fairly expensive to look at doing, but they probably need to be looked at. I'll bet all of us can probably think of this idea of wondering why they don't shoot a chip into the car and back up and just let the offender go his way, and ultimately we'll catch up with him. We've got the license plate if the car isn't stolen. We've got the helicopter above them that appears to be able to keep up with them.
This brings up an interesting point because, today's cars are just basically computers on wheels. They're not totally mechanical or even mostly mechanical like they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you could easily, I'm sure the technology exists, where you could put some sort of disabling chip or kill switch or something that could be remotely controlled by the police and registered to that license plate. You punch in the license plate, hey, want to disable this car? Boom, hit it and it's disabled.
There's something that car dealers are able to use to do that.
I mean, right. So when you steal the car, you can do that. Why can't the cops do that to avert the necessity of some of these chases? Even if you start to implement it now and it's only on new cars, eventually the problem will be resolved. There's another thing that I know Leonard knows about having to do with integrated traffic control in some of these, municipal areas, that you could employ some creative technologies there to minimize the danger by stopping traffic along the anticipated route of the chase, so that you don't have these random movements of cars and pedestrians getting in the way. I mean, that's something else that could be done. And yeah, they're expensive in one standpoint, but afterwards, after you've paid a couple of lawsuits from people that were inadvertently killed as bystanders.
Just talk to one person who's lost someone, and there's no amount
that's
of money
that's true, but we're talking macro. In the macro sense, it still makes sense to do that over the long term.
Mr. Evans, with your company's ability to control the flow of traffic, is that something that you've ever pitched as you push your product?
Actually, we had a situation like that develop in a 10 intersection installation we had operating as a demonstration in Monrovia, as it turns out. And it was a high-speed chase. These guys had robbed something or they were wanted. I don't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out that by using these signs to let people know what was going on so that they could stay out of the way, the chase ended peacefully, and they recovered several guns when they finally grabbed these guys. So, no accidents, peaceful end.
Yeah,
it can be done. However, in many of the things that we talk about, I'm going to get a little esoteric here. We're back to, if we got some fundamental ideas straight, we wouldn't see this kind of behavior, but we're not motivating this thinking. We're not showing the benefits of thinking this way as a way to head off a lot of these poor choices.
Okay.
Why not just pull over? Why steal the car in the first place?
Now, when you say pull over, do you mean the person that is fleeing should simply pull over?
Of course.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to be sure because
that solves the whole problem. They just
that's one of the things the police say. Why do they run? And we've got
now if you let
fear,
them run,
Wallace.
If you let them run and you don't do anything, then this will become a pattern of behavior. Your idea of tagging the car or letting the helicopter follow them when they go in a parking lot and disappear, or go, there are all kinds of reasons why you need to have somebody there to grab them.
I agree.
And you could stop the car, and they do that. They've stopped some of these guys because the car was equipped with a thing that let them slow it down progressively to where it wouldn't run anymore.
Now,
they're trying this kind of stuff. They don't like these statistics any more than we do. They want to find a better solution.
What type of infraction do you think should be the threshold for a police chase? Do you think that they should definitely
resisting arrest is the current threshold? So,
resisting arrest simply means that they didn't stop when the police called them.
Well, that's
what did they do that made the policeman want to stop them in the first place?
Well,
Well,
Mr. Allen.
Well, now, but this is the thing. If you
That's
roll upon a car,
of colors that you can paint that in with.
well, let's talk about them. So, because it appears broad
Well,
and
whatever seems to be a good idea
it appears
at the time.
extremely important.
Taillight,
The broken taillight is a broken taillight.
License plate.
If the guy takes off running and he's got a minor infraction or a fraction, and he's got a broken taillight, one of the things that accelerates this whole thing is that should you, as a police person, assume that he's got someone kidnapped and tied up in the trunk of the car?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so if he's got a broken taillight and you want to pull him over, and this guy takes off like a dummy, which he must be.
Then he's resisting arrest?
Well, he's resisting arrest, but that gets complicated by the policeman taking off, chasing him, and increasing his speed from getting away at 25 miles an hour to getting away at 50, 65, 70 through traffic. That many of us wonder.
Discretion.
Well,
I bet if that officer got another call where something was really happening, he just breaks off and go and answer that call.
Well, let's see.
So yeah, the officer has discretion as to whether or not to chase somebody.
Some people believe that officer's discretion should be used to determine should he even make the chase, as opposed to necessarily making the chase because he was ignored, he didn't receive the proper respect as he attempted to pull the driver over, or he just thought for whatever reason that broken taillight or the outdated registration on the tag is a reason to pull that person over. I agree, pull them over. But what if they run? Is it worth chasing people and potentially creating one of these accidents? That's the question.
Here's the solution. Call headquarters, give them the description of the vehicle, tell them what's happened, and ask for instruction as to what to do. Shall I pursue? This way, no one person is making the decision. If they decide to go after the individual, there'll be a collective effort, coordinated from the beginning.
Isn't that? I don't know. Maybe I watch too much TV, but I would think that the idea of backup, the use of teamwork, is the best way to deal with probably most situations that have a person distributing or displaying their lawless attitude or actions. I'm not looking for my police guy to be Superman and handle everything himself. And I do like the idea of the teamwork. I'm thinking like you, that if he's over here on 5th Street and he runs away, if he's headed to the freeway, there's probably only one direction he can go. Maybe I need to call Highway Patrol. If it's important enough to chase him, it should be important enough to get some other guys involved, possibly or probably. I'm not sure. But I think that as we look at the impact of these chases, California records show 63,500 chases from 2002 through 2014. More than 80% were for vehicle code violations, including speeding, vehicle theft, reckless driving, and 4,898 instances of a missing license plate or expired registration.
Is that what initiated them, or is that what the chase was about?
That's what initiated the chase.
Okay. Can I say something?
Please.
All right. First thing, there's been a few points made here that I just want to offer an alternative perspective on. First thing is, the police are not always called in, I won't even say primarily called in, to deal with crisis situations. Usually they're on patrol, just like that. Or they're doing traffic control, crowd control, something like that. That's how they encounter the public to begin with. They're not called in on a 911 emergency response and asked to put their life on the line as a matter of due course. They encounter that in the process of doing what is a matter of due course, which is their normal just watch the public type stuff.
And when they encounter those things, that's when we are asking them to use some level of judgment as to whether they should try to do this alone or should they call for backup or some help on that.
And use discretion.
Yeah.
if you're stopping me for a broken taillight or an expired tag, that doesn't make me a criminal, and I shouldn't be subjected to a full body search and a search of the vehicle and so on and so forth that goes way beyond
Seems like we have
the scope of the stop. And I hear the
someone
mood
with,
master.
someone with some expertise on police stops.
The other night I got pulled over.
Now, what is your? This is Mr. Garcia, our mood master.
Federico Antonio Garcia the first.
Okay, and you're not pulling the race card, are you?
No.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
got pulled over, and that was yesterday. I got pulled over on the freeway, and then I didn't want to. I was in no condition to be talking to this police officer. So I asked him, "Why did you pull me over?" He says, "Well, your license plate isn't reflecting enough." I said, "I didn't know there was a law saying you have to have a reflecting license plate."
Your license plate was not
reflecting enough.
The license plate itself?
See, let me tell you something.
Yes.
When I worked for the county, there was a kid that became a CHP officer. I came back years later, encountered him, and I asked him, "Why'd you do that?" He said, "Because I wanted to be able to exact some revenge." He didn't mean like, I want to, beat somebody up or something like that. He just was like saying, look, my idea of, justice, if you will, is nipping things in the bud before they can happen, because his father was killed by a burglar, so on and so forth.
So
he has these type of things going on.
Glass,
but here's the deal. He started talking to me about what happens in a traffic stop. And just like Leonard just said, you can paint that palette with many different colors and shades of colors. There's so many, he said it's to the point where there's so many laws on the books now that he can find something wrong with everybody's vehicle, no matter how compliant you think you are. Therefore, there's an open license for a cop to stop you at any time and say this or that and cite whatever vehicle code violation, and now he's got probable cause. But now, how do you use the fact that you have this probable cause? Do you use it to abuse your authority and start subjecting people to unreasonable searches? Or do you say, okay, well, let's just fix the problem, give you a fix-it ticket, and move on your way? Most people think that they're about to be subjected to the unreasonable search and seizure in some cases if they live in a certain area or if they fit a certain profile demographically. Therefore, sometimes the fear is what causes them to overreact. It might be hostility, it might be a fleeing situation, or whatever it is. The cop is supposed to be trained on how to mitigate that, not the person.
That's right. And Joe and Mood Master and Mr. Evans all, I think, have enough memory in the world of music to remember that there were some lines by some famous group, something referring to looking in your mirror and seeing the police car. He wasn't happy, right? I think who was that? Crosby, Stills and Nash?
I think so.
Yeah,
Ice-T put it a different way,
yeah,
which we can't necessarily say on the radio.
Right, but
but he was talking about some blue lights in the rearview mirror.
I don't know very many people who don't get a little startled or know of people who are excited in a happy way when they see those police lights roll up behind them. And I think you have to probably have a lot of confidence to feel, safe. Oh, the police are coming.
No,
hey,
threat.
we're in good shape.
No,
hey,
bad
hi, police
shape.
officer. It just doesn't occur. Maybe you've got a kid.
It's
in the
an
car.
entropic situation.
Yes.
I like the part where they pull up behind me and then go around and keep going. The relief I feel after sitting up very straight.
And look how old you are, Leonard. I don't mean that as anything disrespectful.
Yeah,
Look how long you've been feeling that way, and will it ever change? Probably not.
We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and we'll continue to, go through some of the disturbing statistics of what happens when police pursue. And we're going to see if we can't come up with some decent solutions, some things that would make the police safer and make the public safer at the same time. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. We'll be back right after this short break. Hey, watch out for the traffic and watch out for the idiots who might try to make a police chase as a result of their significant ignorance, alcohol, drugs. Maybe they just got a new car, one of them hot cars.
Publish your legal notice in Westside Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. Westside Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call Westside Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
For more local radio every day, tune into KCAA Loma Linda.
All right, folks, we're going to have a very, very significant event this evening, and I don't know if it's going to be a catalyst for more police chases or not, but if you're out there looking at this beautiful blue moon, this eclipse, blood moon. Blood moon is going to be red?
Yes.
The moon turned a fire red. Okay.
And Anthony was born on a blood moon.
Anthony was born on a blood moon.
Full lunar eclipse at
Full
that.
lunar eclipse. Is this true, Anthony? Yes. Get to the microphone. You mean you really are... This explains many things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But as... Okay, you'll need to help.
No, we're not laughing at you, man.
No, we're not laughing at you yet. But this evening on the blood moon, we might want to be a little extra careful because a blood moon might, have you riding around and you're casually looking up at the moon instead of paying attention to the road. I don't want this blood moon to cause a police chase. We can do without that. But on a very and congratulations. Does that mean it's your birthday? Do you have a birthday date as well as any time this moon eclipse comes up? Does this, Anthony? You're not being heard there. Yeah, that's okay. But you're trying. He's explaining. Just give me a yes or no, Anthony. Do you have 2 birthdays a year?
You actually have 3. You have a solar, a lunar, and a sidereal.
Okay. I just picked up some.
That's the creative day, and there's a birthday.
Okay. Mr. Lilly gave it much more of an intellectual delivery there.
Sun, moon, and stars. Simple as that.
Okay.
They don't all correspond to the same 365-day leap year deal. You only need
Question, Mr. Allen.
Okay. You'll have to be quiet there, Mr. Lilly. Go on,
ahead,
Mr. Evans.
Any comments on the Pope's visit?
Ooh.
Okay, in the realm of the blood moon, the police chases, and the Pope's visit, is there a connection?
Yes.
What is that connection, Mr. Lilly?
Okay, first of all, the Catholic Church always operates its calendar according to the movements of the moon.
I had no idea.
Oh, that's why Easter falls on different days. It's always the first Sunday after the equinox, the spring equinox, after the first full moon.
Okay, somebody's
That's why Easter changes dates every year.
Okay, all right.
And people don't want to talk about why that is, but we don't need to do that today. Anyway, the point is there's a recent thing that just happened right now, which I believe is Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
Okay, and the Muslims had the Muslim version of Yom Kippur where they go on their Hajj and all this. All of this is according to solar and lunar
do
cycles.
We want to talk about all the people who get
So the
killed
Pope
at the
makes a
Hajj
pilgrimage. Well, yeah, they got 700 people that
pilgrimage,
got
my
trampled.
goodness,
Yeah, the Pope makes a pilgrimage to the Americas during this time on the Christian side of things.
So if we look back, we'll see that this is travel time, basically.
This is not an accident. Let's just put it that way.
Very well planned.
Okay. And then he starts talking about immigration issues, and he starts talking about certain things that have to do with social justice.
Inequity and balance.
But you do realize that the last Pope quit. There's never in the history
that has happened
quit.
before, but it hasn't happened in modern
never quit.
Well, Anthony says it hasn't never and
quit.
Jamal says that it has occurred. That means we need to call Google.
The bottom line is this hasn't happened in a very long time in
Yes.
the modern era. But my point is, what I would say is the tie-in is that the Pope is now talking about things in a way that is causing political movement we haven't seen before. You remember Boehner was behind him crying, bawling,
Yes.
out in the open, in open Congress, next to Joe Biden, who's laughing. It was almost like the two theater masks, the laughing and the crying mask, flanking the Pope as he talks about these social justice issues. And then what happens the next day? Boehner resigns. He leaves. He's off the scene. One of the main people that's been the foil of those seeking social justice and change for the progressive community is now, at least ostensibly, off the scene, out of the public eye all of a sudden. These things don't happen just accidentally, man.
Well, there is a large adherence to the concept of fate as opposed to us being in charge.
Both Biden and Boehner are devout Catholics. These backroom things that occur, these signals that are sent that we aren't equipped necessarily to know about ahead of time, you can read tea leaves afterward, though, and see that it was all set up.
Now, Boehner goes for 30 more days, but he said this morning that he's very relaxed. He's glad he's thought about this a long time, and he's glad he's done this, and he's ready to move on. But he's got 30 more days to be there, so he may pass some things that surprise people.
I got a further tie-in for you, Wallace.
Okay.
This whole Yom Kippur thing, atonement, the Hajj, atonement. Pope coming over here talking about atonement for social justices and injustices that have happened in the past, and so on and so forth. The Million Man March, the only speech, the keynote speech that I remember from Farrakhan, he was talking about atonement.
Yes.
And here we are again.
20 years later, still.
Same thing, full circle once again, talking about atonement.
And basically, when we went to the first March on Washington, that was the carriage of the message there, too. They didn't use that specific word, but justice basically is the same thing. We're seeking justice, pushing for atonement, forgiving yourself, accepting guilt, and then forgiving yourself for what you've done, but changing.
Right.
You cannot forgive yourself for what you've done and keep on doing it.
The key part of that speech that speaks to what you just said was where Farrakhan made an analogy about the A tone in the diatonic musical scale, and the note of A is the anticipatory note, meaning if you go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, that's the A. You always are waiting for that do to come next, right? Where you're getting up onto a new level, a new plane, a new octave, so to speak. Something changing.
Ironic
and
that while
getting ready to happen.
While you're looking for that do, we're still looking for our do.
So we're looking for change to come out of this as a result of the atonement.
And that is the feeling of the times, that some change is taking
Something's
place.
getting ready to happen.
Something positive, not something negative, something that will even make those folks who've been involved in negative activities be able to, like Mr. Biden says this morning, he's relaxed, he's feeling better now. It's the pressure of continuing to push this evil cart has been taken off of him. And I say that because I think there is
evil cart,
evil involved in trying to justify how one very small group of people have so much privilege and authority over others. And I'm talking about the economic inequity as well as the inequity of social justice that we are dealing with. We were speaking earlier about the car chases. One of the things that I find a little ironic, that as we look at the police car chases, in 90 instances, police chased someone for driving too slow. How do you chase somebody for driving too slow?
There is a minimum speed limit on the freeway.
I
People don't on the freeway.
Yes,
people don't know
that.
Yes.
Oh,
45 miles.
45. Yeah, you should be going faster than that. And I seem to have been able to find a lot of those people who thought 44 was fine. but this is one of the times, where I'm really
I get your
I'm
point.
really on the side of the total society here. Police need to do their job, and I understand that. The threshold for determining, the enthusiasm for this particular case and job, I think we need to be able to allow our police to feel comfortable backing off somehow. I think we need to take the Superman pressure off of our police. We don't need to have them feeling that way. Of course, I'm the same guy that thinks if you served our country in the military and you were under fire at any point, that you should never have to work again. And we as the government, we should take care of you, and that the last place a person who has been under fire and in a war should work would be with the police department.
Oh, wow. Absolutely.
Yeah, that person should never have to go.
Yeah, they've seen enough. You got that right.
So I think that, many other people have to step up in terms of affecting our public safety, and we do need to stop being so crazy about running, but then we wouldn't run if we didn't have a feeling that there was going to be
an escalation,
something worse, and if maybe I'm trying to run to get to a more crowded spot where I'd have a little more protection. I don't know exactly what the solution is, except to say, folks,
is the solution. Man.
We need to show each other a little bit more care. We need to understand that we would like to, since we like to be treated well, that we should extend that to other folks. Treat people the way we want to be treated. God has been good to us. We are here, and He has not demanded a collection plate. Many of us have not paid our dues, and we want to be careful that the dues don't get too deep. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. I want to thank you for spending your time with us today. Look forward to spending next week with you, same time, same station.
Likewise.
Under two circumstances that will occur. One, if the good Lord's willing. Two, if the creek don't rise. God bless you. See you then.
Where we'll end up, I don't know. But we won't let nothing hold us back. Gonna put ourselves together, gonna polish up our head. Hey, if you've ever been held down before, I know you refuse to be held down anymore. Hey, don't you let nothing stand in your way.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
We go right to the scoreboard in the NFL. The Cowboys leading the Falcons by a score of 21-7. That's in the second quarter. 2 rushing scores for Joseph Randle, 1 for Darren McFadden. Colts out in front of the Titans, 14-3 second quarter. Frank Gore rushing TD. Andy Dalton, a TD pass and a TD run. Bengals atop the Ravens, 14-zip in the second. Also in the second, it's the Raiders 3-zip over the Browns. Deion Lewis, a touchdown run. Patriots 10-3 over the Jaguars second quarter. Also in the second, Cam Newton to